guys, and welcome to another schematics update. This time we want to talk about City Skylines Green City DLC. We got lucky enough to get the codes earlier from Paradox, so we had the chance to play the game a couple of days now, and we want to talk a little bit in depth about it. We means the wonderful Ilzili, Vindyrell, and myself.
Hey Edfo, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a little early here, but not as early as Blind.
So Azili, for those people out there who may not know who you are and what do you do?
I am Azili, of course. You've already introduced me. I play a lot of City Skylines and Planet Coaster. You could catch me on YouTube and Twitch.
Cool.
You want to go ahead?
I'm Blind. You can find me at twitch.tv/blindIRL. I play management games.
And I'm still Edfo, and you can find my stuff on YouTube and Twitter. So let's get into it. We have free stuff that is coming for everyone owning the base game, right? And we have a DLC that is a paid DLC. We want to talk about free stuff at first.
I'm just going to roll down the list here.
Yay.
So we've got 3 new parks, which include a fishing island, floating cafe, and tropical garden. I kind of love them. I know yesterday, at least in my chat, I was seeing some people criticizing that they don't spawn boats like older city builders do, which is okay for me. I think they're fine. I really like the look of actually having something out on the water. I've wanted that for a very long time. Then we have electronic cars, which are they appear freely and make less noise pollution. Noise pollution has been reworked. It's not locked to the road type anymore. It's locked to how busy the road is and what kind of vehicles are on each road. So, for example, trucks are really, really noisy. So if you've got a lot of heavy traffic rolling through your city, it's going to cause a lot of noise pollution.
Which I really like.
Yeah,
that I think is one of the most important changes in this update, just in general. It's going to completely change how you build your cities. And for those of you who like to upgrade just bigger cities that you've been working on for a while, that's a major change. So have fun reorganizing where your trucks go. We have intersection controls for rail lines. I like anything that make railways more complicated. If I had my way, City Skylines would have a Transport Tycoon built into it. I love trains. I love screwing around with trains. I like making trains complicated. I like having huge messes of just like rail lines everywhere if I can. So I'm happy to see that. It's pretty much it for the free update.
Mm-hmm.
At least that I can run over real quickly.
although you can turn off icons.
Yes.
But, I mean, most people probably won't be concerned about it.
Everybody likes them screenshots. Being able to turn off icons is a handy thing for sure.
Yes, very.
Do we want to make a quick conclusion about the free stuff? What do we think about it?
I mean, I think it's a nice update. I don't think it's anywhere near as big as the free update from the last DLC, which more or less added a whole lot of mods into the game in a much more elegant fashion. For those of you who don't remember, that the last DLC was Mass Transit. So I was completely blown away by that free update, so I think this one just seems solid. I really like the noise changes, and the free parks are nice.
This free update, there's something hidden in it, is with those parks you also get the tree models. They don't really explain it on their dev diary or anything, but you do get the trees that are in those parks. Unlike the Japanese garden, if you bought the deluxe or whatever that got the Japanese garden, you still didn't get the cherry tree. So now in this case you get the trees that are in specifically the tropical garden, and then part of the DLC there's other trees that you get when you unlock bigger parks, but those trees are free. They're awesome and they're great. But as far as changing this, this is a pretty big, like, you could, just like you said, you can make a mess of rails and then stop stuff and have one priority rail go through and then the other people have to wait. The overlay, the information overlay, now when you have people complaining about noise, you could see it and then you could redistrict that noise and then remove the noise instead of guessing, well, I think it's here, I think it might be there, and kind of missing the mark.
I think it might be this street.
Right. So that's pretty helpful if you need to get to the micromanagement part of it.
Yeah, because you can just roll in with a heavy traffic ban and just remove the majority of the noise.
Or just make them all get electric cars.
True, yeah.
Or that.
I agree with you both. I mean, for me, the most interesting part is noise pollution rework. I really like that because it always... Yeah, it was kind of strange for me that if I simply build a big road, it's noise pollution all over the place, even...
It's like there's nobody on this road.
Yeah, that was stupid, and I'm really glad it's fixed now. So let's get into the paid stuff, huh?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, the stuff that costs money.
They introduced new district specializations for residents, commercials, and offices, which come with a ton of new buildings that suits the specialization. I haven't played too much with the IT cluster. I don't know if you had, but I had a lot of fun with the self-sufficient residential buildings.
Yeah, I can talk about the IT cluster. So the IT cluster essentially uses employs less people, makes you more money, and makes the buildings all big and fancy looking. I think that the IT clusters are really cool. However, from a management perspective, you have to be really careful, because if you build too many of them, you'll very quickly realize, oh shit, I have a lot of unemployed people because nobody has jobs, which I actually kind of like.
Right, I noticed that yesterday.
Because 30%, it's 30% less jobs. That's not that much, right?
Well,
yeah. Until you have 30% in unemployment and a lot of really angry people.
Yeah.
They do also require a little bit higher education levels.
Well, it's basically Silicon Valley.
Yes, essentially. So I think it makes for really nice city centers, especially because they employ less people. They'll cause less traffic, which is nice too. So you can throw those into really dense sections of city and have a very high income, nice looking buildings for your city center, which is what I think they're useful for.
It's actually really interesting, yeah.
And the self-sustaining buildings are also really nice because, they don't pay you as much. So if you're just doing fine money-wise, you can just kind of start tossing those in left and right, and they look really nice. I actually really like the models for the low-rise residential.
Yeah, me too. And as you noticed last night on your stream, it was like they have grass on the roofs, but it's not immediately there.
Yeah,
grows over time, which is super sexy. I've got to say.
It's a nice touch.
Right, it's the attention to detail that they did with that.
Yeah, these are some of the nicest looking models they've ever made, I think, Azili. They just look kind of amazing.
Did you guys, so when you did your playthrough, did you do high density residential as self-sufficient?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I really dig that model texture. There's it looks like wood. It looks like it's a tree that you made into a house.
Oh, the wooden panels on the front.
You go to Google and you type in modern architecture or modern architecture housing, and you'll just get all of this stuff. It's just everywhere, and it looks so cool. They took kind of the I want to call them shipping container houses. Built those very blocky, almost Minecrafty look to them. But
yeah, well, that's a point that modern architecture has a lot
they like Minecraft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in Berlin, it's hey, we build a new fancy apartment house for the upper 1%, and it
looks like a bunch of shoeboxes.
The same. Yeah, they are so boring. But I love the style of the facades. But anyway, and there's a third thing: organic and local produce, commercial, less waste and more electricity consume.
Yeah.
Have you played around with them?
As a management gamer, I love the organic and local produce, because I always love to throw farms in the middle of my city, as I think I mentioned earlier. And I will throw farmland wherever there's farmland. If there's farmland, there's farms on that immediately. And there are uneducated workers around it, and they're all working in my farms, and I'm a very happy overlord. And I love this because essentially it lowers food costs and also lowers the amount of trucks that have to leave your city. So they just stay within their city. So instead of the trucks going and shipping the stuff to a train station or a port or just driving out of the city, they stay within your city and deliver as delivery trucks. It's actually kind of weird, seeing a little farm truck or tractor just driving up to a house and delivering food, but it's really nice, and I really, really like that change.
Yeah, I got to play with it yesterday. I'm looking at, so if you look at the models, there's a couple of versions of the Burned Bean, which is the organic, locally grown coffee shop. I love it.
It's just like your theme.
Yeah, especially since I drink so much coffee. But in the game, they did a superb model. I don't know if those were the outsourced buildings. So in the dev diary, they discussed how they outsourced some of their building content, some of these models, to the people that they worked with before when they had to build the city. The base game, and some other stuff. I don't know if these are the outsourced ones. I know that Colossal Order did all of the bigger city services, but I don't know if these I'd like to get confirmation because they look really good.
They do look great. I think all of the new buildings in this pack are extremely nice looking.
I agree. Next topic.
Policies and gameplay, electric cars, noise pollution. Oh my goodness. There's so much to this. So as far as like policies are concerned, they've added a couple. There's recycle plastic, which if you read the tooltip, it's going to tell you recycling centers work with 20% efficiency, cost 100/recycling center per week, which increases your actual expenditure for it. There's under city planning, there's a couple others. There's electric cars, which if you assign this to an area, it makes everybody living within the policy area switch to an electric car if they own any cars. So you could have people that just don't own a car, so it's not going to matter. But what does matter is it costs we'll just say dollars per vehicle per week when you enable this policy on a district. And then there's filter industrial waste, which is a hot topic button for all kinds of political issues, but industrial buildings must filter their waste, making them pollute the ground a lot less. If you have a really dense city and you have industry near your city, you can then maybe do two things. Maybe make a perimeter district around your industrial section that says you have to reduce your waste, and then have a central district for your industrial area that doesn't have that policy. I don't know, it makes some interesting gameplay as far as choices that you make, especially if you are a player that limits your game to 9 tiles. I happen to play all 81 because you load all 81 tiles. I certainly don't fill it, but I leave a lot of space.
I play 24.
You play the 25?
81 here.
You play 81. Well, you load all 81, whether you play with 81 or not, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I find the 81 a little bit overwhelming.
Well, it depends kind of on what type of city you're building. I like to build wide spread out suburbs everywhere, so I kind of need them.
You need all the space.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'll usually build like a dense city city center, and then have like farms out in the middle of nowhere. So those are policies that you can enact.
Yeah, I need to mess around with those policies a little bit more, but I do agree that the one that I have used out of the list there is actually the recycle plastic one, but I do need to mess around with the industry in the middle of my city, because I always have industry in the middle of my city. I wonder if that would work for garbage disposal.
What, the reduced population? Or not population? Well, that'll reduce population.
Reduce population.
Reduce pollution?
Yes.
I don't know. It's technically a city service, so in the game's underlying mess of stuff that goes on, it's treated completely different. So I doubt it. But
I shall have to experiment.
Yeah, as far as gameplay, you still enable it just like you enable any other policy. None of that's changed. That's all still the same that you would expect. There's some underlying things you have to know that, when you turn on recycle plastic, it's going to cost more money. When you do electric cars, it's going to cost more money. So if you're carefully balancing your budget and you're riding the line, maybe not the smartest thing to enable right away, but
I kind of like these, that they all cost money though, which they should, but
right, doesn't everything cost money?
It's good for me because I always get to a point in City Skylines where I just look at my income. It's like, well, I'm making $80,000 a minute, and it's really nice that there's more things that cost money that increase the quality of your city, because it's more stuff to throw that late game money on. Because I always play with money turned on, and I don't really have a problem. Like I've always found City Skylines to be a relatively easy management game, which is fine. I like a laid back, chill game to play every now and again. And for me, that's a nice change, because like anything that I can throw money at in late game, which is why I'm so happy with the IT clusters and the other new specializations, because it's just stuff I can kind of throw money at in late game, and here's more stuff I can have and more options for my buildings, and that's always a great thing.
Power plants, we're going after my heart. I always like to invest in renewable energy, and I learned something from this DLC. One of the first plants I'm going to talk about is the solar updraft tower. I had no idea this thing existed.
Yeah, I love this thing.
The second I saw it in the game, I had to research. So I spent hours going, oh my god, where are these? Does this actually work? Turns out it does work. That is in the game. Not huge by any standards. We're not comparing to a well-placed dam, but it's definitely something.
Or a nuclear power plant.
Right. It's definitely something. Yeah, put that in the middle of your city. This doesn't cause ground pollution, but it does have sound,
which is awesome,
to it. So it does create noise pollution.
It's not as bad as the concert arena
or
stuff.
the monorail,
or like anything really. It's not that bad.
I've got one thing to say about the solar updraft tower. It looks gorgeous when it's on fire.
It does, actually. It looks real cool on fire.
How did you manage that?
Blinded.
I had this moment yesterday when I was just sitting there, and I was just, those scenes in movies when all power goes out and just goes right. So all the lights start going off. I was like, what the what the hell's happening? I zoom out and it's like, my power station's on fire. Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it has a really cool effect when it's on fire.
I'm gonna have to enable disasters and tell it to just be on fire just so I could see it.
Catch fire.
Next up on the list is geothermal. Pretty obvious for most of us. It's using the energy within the center of the earth, creating heat to produce.
You can build Iceland.
Yeah, Iceland is a great example. It's not nearly as powerful. It's only 80 megawatts power. It's great. You can have it in the middle of your city. It does produce sound, so there is noise pollution going on, but you could, use it to power maybe the eco-friendly part of your city if you're building that way.
Yep.
A final solution, which is the Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion Plant.
This thing's ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous tongue twister, but now that I've said it a billion times on stream, it's very easy for me to say it. It's actually really neat. I like this model, and we did talk about the parks under the free patch, the free stuff.
Yep.
So part of this, and the reason why those parks exist, is to allow content creators who don't have the DLC to create stuff like this using the parks as a template, which is why those 2 water parks are free. They're not limiting content creators to just buying the DLC to make stuff. So they thought about this, and that's really sweet. It's really nice of them to do that.
That is neat, actually.
I don't know if they can create a power plant that would have these stats. I'm sure that they could. I'm sure somebody can mod it. Out of those 3 buildings, I like them all. I use them exclusively all week long. I'm excited for these buildings as far as power options.
Yeah, me too.
And they look really good. They're really good models.
It's really funny to me because for ages, I've just been building, I'm going to try and use as little polluting stuff as possible. So, farms everywhere, and then I'd find a map with a shit ton of farmland, and I just have hundreds and hundreds of areas worth of farm, and then just clean energy everywhere. And then this patch is right into my soul. It's oh, thanks guys.
It's interesting. Hopefully it'll get more people thinking about renewable energy.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the DLC is concerned, you get 3 new healthcare options.
Yep.
Basically, they're all related to fitness, so it's nothing like death care. You get a little yoga park. Their official name is Yoga Garden,
Mm-hmm.
which also includes some of the trees that are in the tropical park that you guys get for free anyway. Complete with new animations. They're actually doing correct yoga poses. They just keep rotating too, but that's fine.
Limited ammunition? What?
Right.
Animation.
Well, if they did
Wow.
a whole class, I'm sure it would break a lot of computers.
Oh, yeah.
With just those little animations going.
I mean, we have a whole soccer game.
I don't know. I haven't watched the whole soccer game.
I have.
You have?
There's several different variations on it too.
Interesting.
It's ridiculous.
I'll have to do that. I'll just do it on stream one time. It's guys, I'm going to take a break. We're going to watch the soccer match. Gaming content, still true. A community pool. For the longest time, everybody's wanted a pool, and you had people that made the pools for us to grab from the workshop, they could only do so much.
Yeah.
And now you finally have a swimming animation. So now you can have a guy swimming. The water doesn't move. There's 2 people waiting, one with a little floaty thing, and there's one doing a legitimate swim, and then there's somebody waiting on the pool. So that's 4 different pool animations that you can now put in if you create content as far as that is concerned.
Yep.
I flipped out when I realized this was a thing, doing a blind playthrough with Green Cities Let's Play on YouTube. The sports hall and gymnasium.
Yeah.
I immediately had to place it in my city, and then I immediately placed a school right next to it.
Yep.
So now instead of going and finding a building that had a gymnasium, this actually works. You have functioning cars, people show up. Although I do like to detail everything, I would still probably make a school with a gymnasium from the workshop and then build my own parking lot that would function. But for somebody who doesn't have the time or care to do that stuff, this is a real...
Like me.
Right, I mean...
This is great.
We all play the game differently, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to have a gym.
Yeah, I mean, you just grab this, throw it next to your school. Now it looks like you
Yep.
have an event at the gym, and then you have your school. It's great. It's awesome.
Mhm.
I don't know when these buildings are unlocked. I've been playing with unlimited money and unlocks
Yeah.
to show off the stuff on stream. I'm sure it's probably unlocked, probably mid-game.
Speaking of schools, we have 3 new education buildings. Now, I love these and I hate them, and we'll get into this in a second. So essentially, we have 3 new education buildings. We have a community school, an Institute of Creative Arts, and Modern Technology Institutes. And my chat so happily pointed out that these are just normal schools, except the kids come out vegans.
Okay.
What?
No. Vegans and hippies. But no, I really like them. I think they look beautiful. The models seem to be a little bit bigger than the normal school models. They fit in real nicely with the green cities and the eco-friendly buildings because they have grass in their roofs and solar panels and whatnot. They are essentially just more efficient versions of the other schools. But as somebody who plays with everything unlocked by default, there's no reason I would use any other schools. They're more efficient. They do cost more. Yes, they do cost more on a weekly. But they don't cost enough more for it to be an issue. I kind of wish that they were like an investment. Investing in these schools is like, oof, like I feel like they're too cheap. They're too easy to get, or like they had more restrictions to them kind of thing. Like maybe a lower capacity, as in like maybe a low capacity private school type thing. That being said, they look beautiful, and I don't think I'm ever going to use the other schools again because these are just better.
I placed an elementary school, like the regular old elementary school. It has slightly less capacity, but not enough to really freak out about.
We've got the game open. That's cheating.
Well, you got to be prepared, right?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
That we always are on this podcast.
You have to be prepared a little bit. I mean, if you're playing with money, you're probably not going to notice the difference.
No, not at all. See, I was thinking like, you know, normal high school costs what normal high school costs, and then the high school equivalent would be closer to 100,000. Or I need this Institute of Creative Arts here. I need a high school here because I can't afford both. Or I can't just afford two of the fancier one. I kind of wish that they went that route with it. But anyways, the next thing we have here is 2 new water buildings, which is the Eco Water Outlet and the Eco Water Treatment Plant. And essentially they're just, I almost wanted to say reskinned because that's kind of what they are. Reskinned versions of the other water treatment plants that produce less pollution. So the Eco Water Outlet is relatively similar to the normal water outlet, but it's also quite cheap. And then the Eco Water Treatment Plant produces next to no pollution. Like you could literally, because I tested this, I placed my intake and then I put the Eco Water Treatment Plant right next to it. So I was outputting my sewage right next to my intake and had no problem.
Yeah, I did that too, just to see it.
Which is really nice because I would always end up putting my water treatment plants like at the other end of the map. Like as far away from everything as possible. And I hated that because it was super unrealistic and very, very silly looking.
Okay, talking about pollution, they added 2 new garbage buildings, which is the recycling center and the floating trash waste collector, in brackets, poo cleaner.
Sewage filter.
So I built a recycling center, which is nice. I kind of love recycling.
I've wanted a recycling center since the beginning of the game. Like, I'm so happy this is in the game.
I mean, I had mods for that, which were basically just totally overpowered, but now we have it in game actually. I like that.
Which is lovely.
Well, you have it in game as a part of the DLC.
Exactly.
Yes.
I always felt like you have a policy. Why isn't this a thing?
Yep. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
So are you saying that it should have been part of the free update?
I'm saying it should have been in the base game. Like day one.
Day one. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not disagreeing on that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
I haven't used the floating trash waste collector. Did you?
The issue that I have with that is now that we have the Eco Water Treatment Plant and the Eco Water Outlet, I don't think we'll need it.
Yeah.
Right. I was expecting to need to use it.
Unless you're playing with stuff unlocked as you're supposed to.
True.
At that point, you'd start off with the poop stuff everywhere, and then you go placing those down and clean it all
yeah,
up.
true that.
So next one is public transport. We have biofuel buses. Finally, I kind of want to say, because at least in Berlin, it's pretty normal that they are biofueled. No idea if it's for you as well.
They're all electric out here.
Oh, electric. Okay, we are not in the future here. Sorry. So they produce less noise pollution. That's basically the big deal on it.
Is that true to real life?
No.
We have that debate in chat.
I haven't noticed any change on the buses in sort of noise.
Yeah, here all buses in downtown are electric, and the other ones are all diesel. Wish we'd have the biofuel, but
It does cost more. Just on a side note, it does cost more for that. You do spend more money. It's not an equivalent, but not enough to be concerned about.
I think that's just kind of an overarching issue that actually I've always had with City Skylines is everything costs more, but not enough to be concerned about. I think like there's only been one thing that's always cost more that costs enough to actually be concerned about, and that's distributing smoke detectors. And as far as I'm concerned, once I give my entire city smoke detectors, I've won the video game because like everything seems cheaper than that. I really wish that there was more stuff in this update specifically that was like, oh, this is something that's so expensive your entire city's going to fall over if you start building it.
Maps and scenarios. One of the core things about this game is that you need to build on a map. There are 3 maps that come with this, right? Everybody needs a map. You need a land. Eden Valley, Lavender Lake, Garden Rivers. I mean, they're okay maps, but they should really probably reach out to people that make maps and ask them to make a map.
Yeah.
Just straight out of the box, I mean, it doesn't look like the cities I know. They play well, but they are really terrible at making rivers.
Yeah.
Just terrible. Just terrible.
About the scenarios, I think we all can say we don't play the scenarios.
Yeah.
Well, at least I did on Monday, because I was like, hey, let's play a scenario, because first of all, I didn't knew scenarios were in the game. And second of all, I thought they would introduce the new features a little bit better than a free game, basically. But yeah, no, they didn't. So I kind of, scratched the idea really quick.
Yeah, it's like using career mode in other games to learn the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, exactly. That was basically my idea, but it didn't work out too well. Maybe it's just the scenario goals, because at least the one I played was like, you cannot have more than 5% ground pollution, which isn't an issue at all as far as you build enough, farms instead of normal industry. And yeah, I don't see the deal here.
I think the issue is scenarios are designed for a different kind of player than us. You know, like it's more designed for the very casual, and we are. I don't want to say we are not casual gamers, but
well, we play differently. We detail or we play a different aspect of the game. Just so people know, the scenarios are titled Green Power, Cleanup Crew, City of Garden.
So to the people who want more scenarios, those exist, and the rest of us can continue plopping trees.
Exactly. And another thing that nobody of us uses is road modding, which is a nice thing, don't get me wrong, but we are definitely the wrong people to talk about, I guess.
Yeah, all I'll say is that it looks really goddamn complicated, and I'm sure some people are going to make some absolutely amazing things with it.
Yeah.
I tried to make a cargo-only road, and I either messed it up because it was above my head. I get it. I see why it's there. It's awesome. I'm waiting. I'm so excited to see what people do with it.
Patiently waiting.
I will patiently wait, although I want to encourage people that do that stuff to get on it because I want to experiment. But
get me roads, damn it, meow!
Give me more roads. I need more roads. Chat yesterday was like, well, that kills network extensions too, and network extensions more roads. I don't think so. I think it just gives them a platform to be able to do it in the game without doing a whole lot of extra coding. They'll have to skin the road, which will be great because it'll be quicker, right?
One, it'll be quicker, and two, it'll stop it from colliding with other mods and breaking other things.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never used them because I always had problems with them in other mods. Like I used network extensions for a little bit, and then I can't remember what other mod, but another mod broke it.
So a sneaky update that is from a pre-existing DLC is the Concerts DLC gets a little bit of love. Of that love are some different buildings and different things you can use to help make your concert successful. The first one is a fan zone. Think of it as, I'm going to the concert, but not really. It's a building that you could put on the other side of the city that broadcasts the concert that's at the festival.
Like a public viewing.
Exactly. So you could have it in two different parts. So you have your festival out on this side of the city. You have the fan zone, say, in downtown. So maybe it's a downtown plaza. It gives the people who can't get to the concert the ability to see the concert. It comes with vendors. It's got all the animation. It's got the big screens. It's got the speakers. It's almost as loud as the festival. It's not something you would place right next to your residential. Another building that's added is the music club. It's a music club that's unlocked by placing a ton of commercial all over your city. But what it does is it increases your ticket sales by 10%. So if you're having issues upgrading your festival grounds, that building is going to help increase those sales. It should be important to note that the fan zone increases the chance of success by 5%.
Cool.
And then finally, you have a media broadcasting center. It's unlocked by placing specific buildings, a university, a police headquarters, and a fire station. Not to be confused with the firehouse.
Okay.
Basically, it's the fire headquarters. You place those three, you get this media broadcasting center, which increases any active ad campaign effectiveness by 20%, which is huge. But it's great. It's something a little sneaky that's hiding in this free patch for anybody that owns the Concerts DLC. You're going to get this stuff to play with.
I want to go back to the Green City DLC and your overall opinion about it.
Yeah, so just final thoughts.
Who want to start?
Zelia, do you want to go first?
Sure. My opinion of this DLC, which I can now freely say because the embargo is done. I love it. Of course, I was saying that anyway because I already love it. Would I put it in a ranking? I would rank it Mass Transit, Green Cities, After Dark, and then everything else. As far as like your gameplay, this adds a lot of depth to it if you're into the micromanaging. But on a social trend note, it's gonna hopefully get people thinking about actual stuff like renewable energy and how can we help save our world, which is hot button topic. I like the models. The models are great. I like seeing my city filled with a lot of like the low-lying residential. It adds a lot of buildings to your game, not just green buildings. It adds other buildings as well. So there's a ton of new models. What did we say? I think it was like 200 plus?
350.
Yeah, 350. So 350 models of buildings that just grow.
Some of these are from these new specializations, and a lot of them are. But there's also new buildings just in the lower density, general, unspecialized buildings. Unspecialized, that's a weird sentence. Non-specialized zones.
Right. And if somebody is just playing straight vanilla and not using Workshop, but you're buying the DLCs, this is going to add a lot of variety to your city.
Yeah.
Which is always my chief complaint.
So, Blind, your thoughts?
I think my issue is the same I've had with City Skylines since the start. There's, it's too easy. But, unless you go throwing disasters into it, it's too easy, and I don't like the way disasters work in this game, so shrug. City Skylines, to me, has always been a very laid-back, relaxed game. There's very little challenge. There's more challenge than Planet Coaster's management mode, not by a lot. It's a better feeling game than games like Planet Coaster, which is the one I can compare it to immediately. But I always harken back to when you want a city management game, you got to go back in time. You got to go back to SimCity 3000 and to an extent SimCity 4. City Skylines has never had a sense of urgency, which makes me feel like I am going to fail at any point. I think in my time in City Skylines, I failed one city, and that was my first ever city. I actually went bankrupt and ran out of money and lost, unless I was intentionally doing something dumb, which, I've done. I like this DLC. It's more cities, and that's a good thing, but it doesn't change my fundamental issues with the game that I've always had with the game. It's not going to stop me from playing it. It's not going to stop me from loving it. It's not going to stop me from having fun. I will go in and I will paint, but I will inevitably fall off. Whenever they put out a DLC, I put another 60 hours into the game, 60 to 150 hours or so, depending on the DLC, with the exception of Disasters, which I hated. I like it. It's a good DLC. If I were to rate DLCs in rank of importance, as far as the management game goes, I will still say After Dark is the most important one. Get After Dark, for the love of God. You can't play this game without After Dark. Then Mass Transit, and then this one. This one's probably on par with Mass Transit for me, with everything else below that. A little bit mixed, but I've just been kind of mixed on cities for a long time, unless you're playing it strictly as a design box.
Yeah, I always dive into Sandbox for the most part.
I think the best way to describe my thoughts on this game is I criticize the things that I love, and I love City Skylines, so I'm going to shred it. I will take it and I will put it through the cheese grater and find everything that I can possibly think of that's wrong with the game.
Yeah, I can agree with you, Blind. Don't get me wrong, I love the game. I really like the DLC. I will continue playing it, but at some point I will lose interest in it till the next DLC will come out. But that's not the point here. We are not here to judge the game itself, but to talk a little bit about the DLC. And I really like the DLC. I like that it added a lot of new management aspects to the game, how to make your city more human-friendly, I almost tend to say, meaning the self-sustainable houses, meaning the local supply food industry, which is a nice part of it, because that's, at least in Europe and I guess in the States and all over the world, that's the new big deal, basically, or not so new. And yeah, I like that a lot. So for me, it's a solid update, not only to the game, but to how living in our cities changed and will change in the future. So I like to play with the idea totally. So yeah, I liked it. It's definitely worth playing and buying. You will, in my opinion, if you like the base game, you will have a lot of fun with it, and that's what it's all about, I guess.
And then last thing we want to mention, because they don't really talk about it a whole lot, which is the new content creator DLC. And that's 80 new buildings, and I think Azili has the name of the creator who's working on this one.
Her name is Samantha Woods, or we know her affectionately in the community as Avanya. So Samantha Avanya Woods, she's been creating buildings like this. I've used a lot of her stuff in some of my European style builds, and they're always great little assets to grab. And now it's great that we get to support her.
For people who don't know what the Content Creator DLC is, essentially it's Colossal Order and Paradox reaching out to a asset modder in the community and essentially commissioning them and working with them to sell some of their mods. So don't start screaming paid mods blank Bethesda, because this is a heck of a lot nicer. Basically acknowledging their work for the game and selling it for a small price, and they're usually around $5. And if you play City Skylines a lot and you enjoy it, just toss the $5 at them, because you're not directly supporting the game. Well, you are, but you're also supporting a member of the community who's put a lot of time into making these assets. So it's just really cool to see. So we're now coming into the end of the show here. So Azili, this is now your chance to shout yourself out again and tell everybody where they can find you.
I'm Azili. I play a lot of Cities and Planet Coaster. You can catch me on YouTube, youtube.com/EZILII, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/EZILII. Next week we're doing a Planet Coaster thing on Twitch, which you're a part of too, which is going to be fantastic. Tomorrow I'm actually playing this game with 2 other content creators live on Twitch for 12 hours.
Holy.
Basically 1 map, 3 different cities, 3 different types of builders. It's going to be fun. It's just going to be fun. It was great with Mass Transit last time.
And my name is Greg, but the internet calls me Blind. I stream a lot of management games, a lot of Planet Coaster, a lot of RimWorld, a lot of Cities Skylines when there's new patches, and Planet Coaster, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, stuff like that. So you can find me at twitch.tv/blindIRL and Schematics Team, this channel that you're on right now, a lovely collaboration channel where we talk about video games and tear them apart usually.
True. And I'm at for TV. You know me. You can find my stuff on YouTube and Twitter, and if I ever decide to go back streaming, on Twitch as well. So
seriously, like, send Adfo like a thank you message, because he edits a lot of these and puts in way too much effort.
Don't send me a thank you message. Send me a cutter, please.
And beer.
Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Azili, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure thing. And if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, feel free to post it in the comment section down below. Yeah, see you next time.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.